All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Role Players. This is episode 9 of the season. We have Mr. Reese Britt to my left. We do not have Dylan Walton to my right.
Nope.
As we believe that he decided to take the dive on this week because
heard about that, yeah.
You know, he didn't want to wear his Caleb Williams shirt.
Yep.
So we have Mr. Trey Whiteowl in the right, or to my right, you know, Mr. Computer or Mr. Stat Guy.
That's true. That's true.
I'm telling you, dude, that needs to be your job. When you
just be a statistician.
Dude, be a statistician for baseball. You'll find stuff that they'll be like, where was that coming from? And you'll make $100,000. You'll have a great life. You get to play. You'll get to work at the baseball facility every day.
He'll be like, this guy has hit more home runs past the 5th inning since, you know, Jackie Robinson did it in 1943. Or when did Jackie Robinson play? Like 1960?
It was after World War II.
So 50s,
I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, look that up for us. When did Jackie Robinson first play for the
I'm surprised you don't know that off the top of your head.
I was going to say somewhere around like 1940-something.
Yeah,
I'd
say
1942.
Oh, wow.
1942? I thought he served
kind of during.
I thought he served during World
War. Oh, wait, no, sorry. I was just looking at that. That's 1942 is when he was, what's it called?
Drafted into the...
drafted into the Army.
Yeah,
that's what I meant to say.
That makes sense, yeah.
I was say I was pretty sure he served in World War II. I think he got dishonorably discharged.
I believe
that's because like he wouldn't get stepped to the back of the buzzer of something of that story.
Phil would be upset with me.
Phil Wood is.
Oh gosh, Phil Wood. Yeah,
1945 with the Monarchs. That's what it was.
Yeah. So he was with Monarchs in 45.
Yep.
And then 46 he played for the Dodgers? Or no.
No, not 1945. He went to the 1945. He was also with the Dodgers. He was with the Monarchs in 1945. Then went Then went over to Branch Rickey and them in the middle of the 1940s.
All right, there's a little history lesson for you guys. We're
not just a sports show over here.
Well, it is a sports history.
Yeah.
So it is sports related. But hey, sometimes we like to educate people in our own weird and kind of silly little way.
I love it.
But all right, so we're going to get into it. The WNBA draft has come and gone. Unsurprisingly to no one, Caitlin Clark went number 1 to the Indiana Fever. Surprisingly, though, we have a couple teams with a couple big picks. The Los Angeles Sparks took both Cameron Brinks out of Stanford as well as Rakia Jackson out of good old Rocky Top.
Rakia.
And then the story, I think the big storyline out of the WNBA draft is both Angel Reese and Camila Cardoza are both heading to the Chicago Sky. Cardoza going 3rd overall and Angel Reese going 7th overall. So, guys, the Chicago Sky just got a lot bigger.
Yes,
they did.
They got a lot bigger.
I think it was Camila Cardoza said in her post-draft press conference, she said, "Yeah, nobody's getting rebounds when they play us."
I would hope not.
Yeah, seriously,
because that is a pretty big backcourt or front court, I should say. I mean, because Angel's going to essentially probably play the 4. Mm-hmm. She's not going to be the 5. She's going to be the 4.
Yeah,
I would be interested to see if she starts. Angel right off the bat. I don't know. She may be a rotational player. I could see Cardoso playing right off the bat just because of her sheer size.
She's 6'7".
Yeah,
I mean
that's a big person, let alone a big woman.
And she can and she's got some post moves. Like it's not just like she's 6'7" and she can't move. Like she can move and she can she has some post moves in her repertoire.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But Angel Reese is going to be the 4. And then, again, going back to L.A., Cameron Brink and Rakia Jackson. I mean, that's 2 buckets for L.A.
Yeah.
Big buckets.
I didn't, obviously, I didn't follow the WNBA draft as well as probably I should have, but I didn't think Cam Brink was like that highly. Well, yeah, right. Dylan would be really mad at me. But I didn't think Cam Brink was going to go as high as what she did. I thought she was more on like the 5 line or like the 6 kind of line. And I don't know why that is, but you had so many bigger names that got more recognition throughout the season than Cam Brink. So that's kind of, I guess, where I thought was, if
I can kind of see that, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, she's a great player. Don't get me wrong. And LA got a phenomenal player, both with Cam Brink and Rakia Jackson. But I guess, I don't know. I just didn't hear her name as much as what I had heard in the past on, the big sports networks like ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, who's the better player and then who's the better name.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Angel Reese is the better name, but as of right now, at least Cam Brink is the better player.
Yeah.
Some surprising news. Daisha Fair went in the second round. I think she was kind of projected in a late first-round pick potentially, but she fell to the second round to the Las Vegas Aces. But, you know, you look at that backcourt and look at the Las Vegas Aces as a team, you know, just Kelsey Plum and that whole crew. I mean, they're pretty loaded. So they got even more just key players to come off the bench. So, listen, we talked about it last episode with you and Dylan, and obviously we got Trey this week. But if you're the WNBA, you got a lot of talent coming in your league. Just this draft class alone, you can't mess this up.
You cannot.
You can't.
You cannot do this. You have to be able to execute on what the college basketball has just given you, right? Because college basketball did a great job of marketing these players the way they should, putting them on national television on ESPN, not ESPN2, not ESPNU, on ESPN. And college basketball did a great job. Now it's the WNBA's turn, and they have not had a good track record, the WNBA, of doing the right thing at the right time.
I remember talking about this with someone recently. With the amount of talent that's coming out of the college for women's basketball, if this doesn't work and nothing changes, and granted, it's already looking like stuff is changing, because wasn't it the Chicago Sky, or was it the Indiana Fever, the one that sold out all of their season
Well,
tickets?
it's the Fever because of Caitlin Clark.
Okay, then, you've got the it's already seeming like it's starting to head up in the right direction.
But you got to keep it there.
Yep, if you can't keep it there with all of them coming in this season, I don't think there's a lot of hope there. Like, there's not a lot of hope for any, like, massive growth at that point. Because this is, like I said, like we've said, one of the most talented classes that has come out yet.
Probably the most.
Yeah, it's loaded.
And if this does not even bring a rise of any kind, then how can you hope for anything in the future for it to head up? Unless you quite literally have studs getting taken every single pick in one of the rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at just picks 1 through 10. I mean, you're looking at potential superstars in now, granted, we know that not every pick is going to work out.
Yeah.
We know that. This is not like Cinderella where everybody lives happily ever after. But
there's always at least a couple. There's always a couple of picks in each draft that just doesn't end up working out.
But there's storylines.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, we have it on here, right? One of the biggest storylines: Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese, who were seemingly sworn enemies in college, are now teammates.
Yeah.
Right. And then you got Caitlin Clark. Already, she hasn't even stepped foot on the practice court yet, and
they're all
it's sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then LA's got 2 buckets in Cam Brink and Rakia Jackson. So you've got a lot of storylines coming out of the WNBA, but you got to make this work.
Yeah.
You've got a way to make it work, and because people want to watch good basketball regardless of women's or men's, but it's got to be good basketball.
Yeah. Caitlin Clark has just signed a 4-year contract worth a total of $338,000. That's according to the WNBA's CBA, which is their player, whatever.
Yeah,
so
it's basically a side paycheck.
Yeah, ultimately for her,
considering how many endorsements she's getting.
Mm-hmm. I think that has to be the biggest contract though they've given to a draft pick over the
past I think Aaliyah
years.
Boston. We looked it up. I looked it up actually for an episode earlier this season. And it was like she was getting about $82,000 for 4 years with a 4th-year option.
Okay,
so she was definitely not within the 400,000 mark.
Yeah,
and hey, listen, the simple fact is, the better ratings you get, the more the players are going to get paid.
Correct. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the contract details here. 2024, she's going to get paid $76,000. 2025 is $78,000. 2026 is $85,000, and an option year in 2027 that is just going to be under $100,000 and $97,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's going to be very interesting.
Basically the same amount that we're all probably going to make in like a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, potentially.
What world do you live in?
No, I mean like in a job in general, just like
what
a normal job, like 40 to 50 mil, not 40, 50 mil, 40 to 50,000 a year.
As I say again, what world do you live in?
I don't know. I feel like that's pretty realistic. I mean,
if you get out of college making $40,000 a year, I'd say you're doing really well.
Yeah, I mean,
it depends on what field you're in and the field.
Granted,
the field
yeah.
that me and you
Fair.
and maybe you one day. I mean, granted, you may be doing what we're talking about next with the Masters. So
Yeah.
well, I don't know about that. Yeah.
so but yeah,
We'll
it's
see.
for sure the field that me and you are in.
It's going to be around that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. I will be very excited if it is. Speaking of excitement, we're going to roll on to our social medias. Follow us at both Role Players at APSU on both not Crunch Time, but go follow the Crunch Time one as well. But at Twitter and Instagram or AKX, that is Role Players at Role Players APSU for both Twitter and Instagram. So, speaking of Reese's new job, or hopefully next job, the Masters
I wish.
has come and gone, as always, in very beautiful fashion. And we have a champion. That would be Mr. Scotty Scheffler. Is it Scheffler or
Scheffler.
Scheffler. Okay, I want to make sure.
Scotty Scheffler, yeah.
I just want to make sure it pronounced it right. So this will be his second Masters. He won it in 2022, and then he won it obviously this year. So big shout out to him. But we also had some young talent in the top five. Ludwig Auberg, Max Hama, Colin
Morikawa.
I was going to say, you're going to tell me how that one.
I was about to say, yeah.
And then Bryson DeChambeau was kind of in that fifth area. The Americans had 7 out of the top 10, which is huge for USA.
Yeah, that's right.
And Scheffler will go home with $3.6 million, along with his second green jacket, I should say.
And his first baby on the way.
First baby's on the way.
First baby's on the way.
Cherry on the top, baby.
Yeah, that's right. He actually, a report came out and he actually confirmed it, and he said that if his wife Meredith went into labor during that point in time of the Masters, he would have withdrawn and gone to see his first kid, which I really can't blame him. I mean, you already have one green jacket, and I told this to somebody that asked me that question. What would I have done? And it's like, family is going to be with you for the rest of your life. The Masters, your playing days are going to be past you at some point, right? But your family's never going to be past you. So that's kind of, and he's already made so much money, like upwards of $50 million just playing. That's not endorsements added on top of that. So, I mean, he's perfectly fine. But for this, I mean, cherry on top to win it for sure in another year.
Oh, no doubt. But I mean, your thoughts on this? I watched it as much as I could throughout the weekend, but I mean, I'm assuming your eyes were glued to the TV as much as you could be.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on it? Because I know the big story was John Rahm. Him coming back this year. He had a rough day.
Yeah, he did.
Did not have a good outing in the tournament. Obviously, Tiger Woods
+4 or something for
Rahm. He went plus. He went +4 for the tournament, so he made a good push on the fourth day. But the middle 2 days, I want to kind of touch on this. The Friday and Saturday rounds, there was wind blowing at about 25 mile an hour with gusts up to like 45.
Yeah.
And when you're having to hit a little white ball more than 500 yards, down a fairway and through, whatever trees, and whatnot, where the wind's just affecting it, that's pretty tough. That's really tough to control your golf ball with the wind, blowing at 45 mile an hour, right? You're having to hit 3 more clubs than what you normally would and having to control that and all the spin. So, and just to add on top of that, Augusta National is one of the hardest courses they play on the PGA Tour. So those middle 2 rounds, that's why you saw some of the scores the way they were. Max Homa going 1 over, Scotty Scheffler, sitting at even on those middle 2 rounds. So, but I mean, I love it. The Masters is the most important tournament anybody can play in their life. And, for Scotty to win it, I couldn't have been more happy with the person that won it, because he goes about it the right way. He doesn't, it's never me. It's never I, it's we as a team,
right.
know? And so, cause the caddy never gets the credit that they deserve. They do almost more work.
But they are a huge part of it.
Huge part, and this was the first tournament that his wife hasn't been there with him, so that had to have played a factor in it. So I couldn't have been more happy for Scotty to win, because he just goes about it the right way.
What's the hole? I can't remember what hole it is, but there's a hole on the course where literally it's just surrounded by bunkers, like the green is. I can't remember which one it is, but
I think you're talking about 12. Is it a par 3?
I think so, but it's
Yeah.
literally it's the green, and then it's literally just surrounded by bunkers. Like there's literally like a sliver of grass in between each one, but it's literally just surrounded by bunkers.
Yeah, you're talking about 12, which is like the most infamous hole probably in golf, where it's like the wind where it sits on that property, the wind will swirl, and so you don't know. It plays only about 150 yards.
That's number 7, actually.
What do you? Number 7?
Yeah, the 7th hole is that one. I see like 5 total bunkers are surrounding it, like right there. It's 3 on the front, 2 on the back.
Okay, yeah. So that's a tough hole for sure. But 12, the hole I'm talking about is like I said. I mean, it's the most infamous hole in golf. That's why I thought that you were trying to bring that up. But I mean, I didn't see much coverage of hole 7 really. I mean, It's a tough hole. Obviously, what's it playing? Like 200 yards, maybe? I don't know. Maybe
Hole 12?
No, hole 7.
Give me a second.
But that's when you literally got to just say, hey,
Yes.
I got to put it right on the green.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys have the best short games, obviously, of anybody in the world.
Yep.
They wouldn't be in the position they were if they didn't. So they can get up and down from a couple more spots than I would be able to, or just another person would. But yeah, all in all, great tournament. I mean.
That's where they said Bryson DeChambeau's game had dramatically improved. Because, I mean, we all know Bryson DeChambeau can get up there and knock it a country mile. Mm-hmm. But they said that's why he got in the top 10, in the top 5, is because his short game had gotten so much better.
Yeah.
Because we were so just used to, at least for me, I'm just so used to getting him seeing and just crank one, 300-plus yards.
Yeah.
And then, he gets to the short game, and it's like, all right, he's not got the finesse maybe as other guys. But
yeah,
it was cool to see him get in the top 5.
He
or like in that area. I know he was
Yeah.
like tied for I think 6th technically, but he was in that kind of range.
Yeah, I think he ended up like maybe 7th or 8th, something like that. I can't remember.
There was another guy, Fleetwood.
Yeah, Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, he was.
What did he finish?
I think it's around close to 300 yards.
Hole
for that.
7.
Yeah.
So it's not even a par 3. Okay, interesting.
No, it is par 3.
It is
300 yards.
Yeah.
300 yards.
No,
Well, to be fair, I'm looking at it through like this one and seeing like, for example, round 1, round 2, and it's like 286, 293, 297, 277 for this guy's shots, and it's like.
Scroll up here.
For those of you who are watching this on
it's a par
YouTube,
four. It's par 4.
Reese Britt is looking
12
at the golf course.
12 or 7.
7.
Yeah, that's
7.
a par 4.
Yeah,
so.
par 4. So a short little par 4.
Yeah.
But still, besides the whole point, I mean, it was really cool to see. But fun fact about Bryson, he actually put in a new set of irons right before the Masters. He had these like custom 3D printed, I don't even know what they were, but they have some sort of face that minimizes dispersion, which for non-golfers out there, dispersion is like how far the ball goes, east and west, not north and south. So,
Right.
I mean, it helped him on the first day, but when the wind gets whipping and,
Then it doesn't matter what kind of club he
that's
has.
what
It's
I'm
going
saying.
wherever the wind takes it.
Yeah, pretty much. But all in all, great. Love it. Love the Masters, yeah.
Yeah. Tiger Woods, he made cut, but he literally was, I think, the last guy in the cut, placing 60th.
Yeah.
Shooting plus 16. It's the most he's ever shot at the Masters in his career. Phil Mickelson, he didn't have a great day, tied 43rd at plus 8. And then the previous winner, John Rahm, finished tied 45th at plus 4. So, but that shows you how tough this game is. I mean, like you said, I don't think
So
people
hard.
give it enough credit. You got literally the best of the best going to one of the most beautiful, but one of the most brutal golf courses in the world.
Yeah.
And struggling,
Yeah.
right? So on the one hand, it's cool to see the quote unquote young guns, because I think most of those guys were in their late 20s, and I think Scotty's even in it.
He's like 27.
Yeah, so they're all relatively young.
Yeah.
Really, within the game of golf, they're really young. And then you see even the older guys, the guys who have been there and done that before and won Masters.
Yeah, I'm looking.
They struggled.
Yeah, I'm looking at Tiger's third round right now. It was rough. He had, it seems like from holes 4 to 9, he had 3 bogeys, 2 double bogeys, and 1 birdie. Then in the second set, in holes 12 through 17, he had apparently 5 bogeys and 1 birdie.
Yeah.
It was a rough third round for him.
But for Tiger to even be out there on the golf course and playing is
Yeah.
a miracle. Like what he has to do every single morning to get his body ready to play, play those 18 holes, and then afterwards what he has to do to like just be able to walk from the putting green to his car. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it is like nothing short of miraculous what he's doing.
No doubt, man. So shout out to him. I mean, like you said, the fact that he's even finishing it is huge, and he made cut, which he made history. Which shout out to him. I think that's probably kind of part of the reason he wanted to keep play this year is just, hey, I want to try to make history.
Yeah.
But in terms of what we are at least accustomed to Tiger, not where we are used to seeing him, but it is what it is, and we might see the end of Tiger Woods' career. Who knows? I mean, he's every time he seems to be down, he finds a way to get back up top.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where like you don't want to count him out. Even though it's kind of where it seems to be trending.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Speaking of trending up, we have NHL hockey this weekend. A little exciting. It's a little bit of a curveball for our normal role players listeners. A little bit of a curveball. We're not a big hockey show here as we see the graphics, but we are big Preds fans. At least in this chair, we are big Preds fans. The NHL playoffs are right around the corner at 20th. The Preds are in no matter what. They are done for the season. They are sitting pretty right now. It just depends on which wild card spot they in. They finished 47-30 overall with 99 points to clinch a playoff berth. Again, this isn't a big hockey show.
Didn't they have like a 15-game win streak or something?
They had a crazy win streak at some point this season because my buddy Tanner Bailey, shout out to him, he's a big hockey guy.
Yeah.
And he was talking to me about it. And, hockey's one of those weird sports because it's kind of similar to baseball, right? Where you have this very long and grueling schedule, but then you have the physicality of football added to it.
Yeah.
Maybe not. If it's not as physical as football, it's pretty dang close.
It was a point streak of 15-0-2 in 17 straight games.
Wow.
That's impressive.
How many ties do they have? Because I didn't put the ties on there. I know hockey, they have their fair share of ties.
They go on to here.
Which is crazy to me.
Well, because granted, I'm not a big hockey guy because I know they go to
5.
They had 5 ties because it's like they go to overtime
OT,
and then they go to shootout, and if nothing happens to shootout, they're like, well, it's game over.
Well, so I don't do they do the shootout or do they just go 5-minute period and at the end of 5 minutes?
They do 5-minute periods in the regular season, and then when it gets to playoffs, they move on to
shootout.
Yeah, shootout.
Yeah, so they don't do shootouts during the regular season. So that's why there's so many ties.
Do they not do that anymore?
They do not.
Oh, okay.
I wish they did.
It's kind of funny because you mentioned ties for them. Out of every single team, only one team in the playoffs right now has less ties, and that's the Rangers, I believe.
Hey, listen, I'm all about
4.
you either win or lose. I'm not a big fan of ties. But listen, the Preds are in. I could not tell you 5 rules in hockey. I want to make that very clear.
Could you at least tell me what icing is?
No. I hear it. Well, isn't that like when you knock the putt all the way down?
Yeah.
And it's like you don't have anyone on that side of the ice.
Yes, I think that is.
Yeah.
It's like that's
the defenseman for the other team, if they're not across the other blue line, and then if the puck goes like past the, where they have that line where the goal is, and then it goes into that little like oval shape.
You see it all the time when there's the power play because the other team is just like, hey, I just need to get it out of my side as soon as humanly possible.
Right here, the key here is that the puck must travel the length of the ice untouched after it has been propelled from the team's own side of center. If the puck touches a member of the defending team, including the goalie, before or after it reaches the goal line, icing is waved off.
See that
yeah, no, that's perfect.
Give us a round of applause for Trey Whiteout explaining us the rules.
Thank you, Wikipedia. Right?
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Siri.
Wikipedia.
Thank you, Siri. You're our Siri essentially. But yeah, no, listen, but it's so fun to watch, especially in the playoffs when every game matters. And we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs here in a second. But hockey's just one of those sports that you cannot know anything about. Literally nothing. At least baseball, I can kind of tell you what happens here and there. But hockey, I couldn't tell you. I know the putt goes in the net and Tim McGraw starts playing. I like it and I love it and I want some more of it. That's all I know. And we tell the other team's goalie that they stink. But that's fun. It's so
but
fun.
Some other word.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That we can't say
That we
here
can't say
because,
here.
you know, we're on APSU-TV, and I don't want Steve Sawyer to
Yeah, sure.
fire me.
No, that's fair. That's
So,
That's fair.
but it's so fun to watch. It's
It
so
is.
fun, especially when it's playoffs.
And remember a couple years ago when Nashville went all the way to, I believe it was the Stanley Cup.
It was
It was
Stanley
the
Cup
Stanley
Finals.
Cup.
Stanley
this, Well,
Oh
not
my-
this city,
yeah,
but
not
Nashville
Clarksville, but-
went bonkers.
Yes, it was unbelievable.
They went bonkers. This,
Yeah.
it's so funny though to hear like older people, and you know my dad is one of them because he's old. But he talks about how like you wouldn't think hockey would work in the South, especially this deep in the South. But it does, and it works in Florida.
Yeah.
It works in Carolina. So I mean, it's one of those weird sports that you would not think it would work, but God, the South
But
is
somehow
like,
it works.
Yeah, I think it just has something to do with sports in general. You know, the South is so predominantly, it's just a predominant like sports area, right? So like, you know, it doesn't matter if it's cricket. Like if Nashville had a cricket team and they made it to the national championship or whatever, like I'm sure Nashville would be up for it. You know what I'm saying? Like in
That's
hockey, same way. Like I'm kind of like you. Like I know a little bit about hockey and I know how it works and whatnot. But you know, do I follow it for what do they play? 70 games? No. Like I'm not gonna do that. You know, I barely follow baseball. You know, in my free time. But it's just the fact that it's sports and it's a thing that a community can rally around. And I think there's no better place in the country that does that what I just described in the South.
Yeah, like I said, I love hearing the horn go off, and then
Every
hear
time a
Tim,
goal scores.
and then you hear Tim McGraw get up there and sing "I like it, I love it," and then you just go, "Hey, you stink,"
Yeah.
using other words. But all right, so that'll be fun to watch this weekend. As again, we don't really know who the Preds are going to play quite yet. There's still some nuts and bolts they have to get together. What we do know is going on is the NBA playoffs, as they actually got started last night. We have the play-in games
so,
happening
yeah.
last night. I gotta pull up the scores.
I got them right here.
I couldn't find it on TV.
Lakers ended up winning their game 110 to 106.
Who they beat again?
The
Warriors.
Pelicans.
Oh, the
And
Pelicans?
then the Warriors lost 118 to 94 to the Sacramento Kings.
So they're done.
Yeah, they're just done.
So now we got tonight. We got a play-in between Philly and Miami, and then we got Atlanta and Chicago are going tonight.
I will say that the Lakers got so incredibly lucky, man.
Oh, I wonder why.
I watched the game, and well, for the most part, I watched the game, and from what I saw, Zion Williamson was absolutely destroying them the entire time. He had 40 points, and it seemed like nobody could touch him. But then, of course, as everything does, if you lose a game and you score 40 points, nobody else decided to show up for the Pelicans. Brandon Ingram was just unplayable. CJ McCollum was even worse.
Yeah.
And even better, even when they tied it with 3 minutes left in the game, Zion Williamson got hurt.
Oh,
And they didn't even have Brandon Ingram in the game in that last fourth quarter because, like I said, he was unplayable.
Yeah.
And it's like Lakers barely escaped that one by 4.
I gotta give my hats off to Zion Williamson because I don't think there is an NBA player that gets ridiculed more than he does for things that he can
Aren't
help
really
it.
out of his control.
Yeah, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like him getting hurt, probably out of his control, right?
his weight attributes to his injuries.
I get that. But for a guy that was the number 1 overall draft pick that had so many expectations.
Speaking of that, the only reason why he didn't finish all 40 minutes is because he got injured.
Yeah.
He
that's one.
finished
Yeah.
36
And this is-
minutes and 27 seconds out of a possible, I want to say 48 or
Yeah.
something.
And this is coming from a big guy myself, so I'm not one to speak on anyone's weight. But when you're a professional athlete, and
A little different, yeah.
it's a little different because I mean, listen, as much as me and you included, like to ridicule LeBron James, who by the way had 23.99, so a little bit off of a triple double, but he's probably the best at all time in taking care of his body.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no one that treats his body better than LeBron James, and that's why he's being able to play at such a high level for so long.
What is he like? Is he 40?
He's in his 40s. He's in his early 40s, I believe.
42, maybe.
Yeah, and we're not just talking about he's still playing. He's still playing at a pretty high level.
Pretty high level.
39.
He's
Okay,
39?
39.
Yeah.
So
He's
All
about
right.
to be 40.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, again.
still, imagine you're a 39-year-old guy and you're trying to play in the NBA. Like, that's pretty impressive.
That's very
I mean,
impressive.
that's pretty impressive.
So-
But I mean, you still have to, like, I still want to give my hats off to Zion because, like, other than him wanting a trade, kind of I want to say it was last year, you haven't really heard much of him. He's just, like, kind of kept his head down, just done what he needed to do, and he's showing up in these moments, dropping 40 points, like, you know.
Zion this season was actually just really good. Like,
Yeah.
he was one of the main reasons why they even made it as far as they did. And unfortunately, the news also did come out today that he was going to be out for their next play-in game against the Sacramento
Dang.
Kings. So if they have any chance or they want to get him in, they've got to win. And unfortunately, one of the biggest things that got the Pelicans to legitimately sweeping the Kings. So it's not like the Pelicans are just absolutely gone, right? It's just one of the biggest things that got them through against the Kings was the fact they had Zion right there.
Sure.
Now you're going to be without him against Mr. Double-double himself. Like, what was it, 64, 65 straight games for Sabonis for the Kings?
Don't look at me, dude. You're Wikipedia.
But he played so great. He basically proved everyone wrong about like what they had been saying for years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, right at the end, he gets injured, and it was in a game he played his heart out. Like,
Yeah.
he was the only reason why it was that close,
Yeah.
and why they even had a chance, and then they still couldn't do it in the end.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But, Lakers get the win. And so, again, we're going to see what happens with the games tonight. Philly and Miami, it seems like, I don't know, man. The play-in games, it's like there's a lot of storylines, but at the end of the day, it's like, just give me to the regular playoffs.
Yeah.
Just give me to the playoffs.
That's ultimately what I'm kind of there for. I mean,
It seems like, though, Miami's always in the play-in tournament, and then it's like they find a way to get to the finals.
Yeah.
I think it's their coach. That Eric Spoelstra.
Eric Spoelstra is
that dude
is
can
a
coach
dude.
basketball.
He is
Like,
a dude. And listen, they've got a good team. It's just they don't have like the star power. I mean, when you had Bosh, D Wade,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
LeBron James, Birdman, you don't have that star power. And I mean, they just find a way to get in the play-in tournament, sneak their way past each round, and then they get to the finals. And by the time they get to the finals, it's like, all right, they just don't have enough talent.
Well, they're gassed at that point. I mean, they've already played so many games to even get to that point. Meanwhile, the team probably, let's just say the Celtics that are already the number one seed, like they're not having to play as many games as what Miami's having to play.
Yeah. So
I'll
it'll be interesting.
legitimately be upset if the Celtics don't win this year.
Yes, I
They've
mean,
just even if I want to see like the team, like for example, the Thunder, a young team, I think the youngest team in NBA history to get the 1 seed, and as much as I would love to see the Thunder end up winning, the thing is the Celtics have just been so good. Like at one point, I think there was a deal where it's like I think there was a stat where it's like they were 23-9 or something heading into at one point in December, and then they ended up 64-18.
Yeah.
Like just complete dominance, a great roster, a great team as a whole, and it's just if they do not win this year, how else can you win?
When are you?
When are you going to ever win? Like Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Xavier Tillman, Al Horford, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard. Just if this team does not win, then something has to occur. Like it's either in the coaching staff, the players, the management. Something has to give way because there is no reason why this team should not, at bare minimum, make the finals.
And they've had a lot of changes in management. We're
Have,
talking about
yeah.
a couple coaches going in and out. We're talking a couple people in upstairs and administration going in and out. And so it's not like it's been completely pretty for the Celtics.
No.
But they're just one of those organizations that they just keep finding a way to being at least at the top.
Yeah.
So it's impressive to see what they've done. But so we got about 10 minutes left. And so luckily no one got traded. or at least as of right now, nobody. I know we had I know Devontae Smith signed an extension yesterday, so shout out to him. But
speaking of trade, no.
Oh gosh, Titans trade back for Derrick Henry.
We got him back.
We got him back, baby. But no, so we're gonna get to talk about the draft a little bit. So because it's a little bit over weeks away. I think it's 8 days today. It's 8 days because what is today? The 17th, I believe.
Today's the 17th. Yes,
April 17th. So we got the draft next it's next Thursday.
Yeah.
So it'll be a week from tomorrow. Dude, I'm so stoked.
It's going to be fun.
I'm so
It's going to be
stoked.
so fun.
Because there's always stuff that happens. Because like this is kind of like the calm before the storm. Because it's like there's really nothing that's going to happen prior to the draft. It's either going to happen way before the draft, but then when we get to the draft, everything starts. These GMs just start stirring the pot, and they're like, "All right, I'll give you a 2025 5th-round pick and the lease to my house."
Yeah.
And you'll give me Tyreek Hill. And there's always just something crazy that happens. So I'm so stoked for it.
Yeah, a couple of names to potentially look out for trade. Potential for Kyler Murray at one point if the Cardinals who ends up falling to them. There could be a Justin Jefferson trade made soon, and then there could be a T. Higgins trade as well.
Well, as far as the reports for T. Higgins, they've said supposedly he's going to stay in Cincinnati. I did see a report the other day that he's reportedly wants to stay in Cincinnati despite – or not wants to.
This one's going to hurt you, though. Hurt you and me on this. They also did say that A.J. Brown was supposed to stay with the Titans, right, during the draft.
That's true.
And then he got traded because John Robinson
Well, granted,
was
that's because
maybe
Mike Vrabel said as long as I'm head coach.
Yeah, as long as he's head coach, A.J.
Brown's
going to be there.
And then John Robinson said, psych.
As long as
He's
you're
an
coach,
Eagle.
he's going to be gone.
Well,
Yeah.
trust me, I would love to see T. Higgins wearing the two-tone blue. But I've seen Brandon Ayuk potentially being
He was another one that was
being
talked
traded.
about.
I saw Traylon Burks was on the list. I think it was Pro Football Focus, or it may have been the 33rd team Instagram that
I
said
wouldn't be shocked if Burks got traded.
if Traylon
honestly.
Burks got traded, I would be like, thank you. Get him. I mean, listen, I don't dislike Traylon personally, but
He has not worked.
he's
at
not
all.
worked. He's been injured. He does even when he plays, he's not on the field hardly half the time.
I
It's
felt
just,
like we had way too much expectations in that department because we just traded A.J. Brown. We got the pick and said, let's get somebody who is basically A.J. Brown, but has not proven himself at all.
and is proven to be injured
Yep.
and out of shape at times.
Yep,
And
it was not a good trade as a whole.
it was the cherry on top in the John Robinson era.
Yeah.
And then what was the cherry on top is when we played the Eagles and
And
AJ
he
Brown
just
had
absolutely destroyed us. that
200
game, yeah.
yards, and
Yeah.
Amy Adams Strunk said, "You're fired."
Yeah, you're now gone, man.
So listen, we were expecting Dylan, and we were expecting Dylan to be in his Caleb Williams shirt, but he apparently decided he was going to get a job interview to diss the show and to not get in on it.
I mean, role players, job interview, role players. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
obviously.
Like, are we
Obviously.
serious? Like,
Somebody's
role
gonna
players, job
pay
interview.
you, and somebody who's gonna basically talk smack about you because you're wearing the shirt of a player you don't
Yeah.
like. Listen, we're expecting to have a show next week, but if we don't have a show, we are going to post a picture of Dylan wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
So it's going to
We're
come.
absolutely
Going to
gonna do that.
happen.
It's going to
Like,
happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
he,
just
he will. Yeah.
It's just a question of how it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But since we have me and Trey, both Titans fans, I mean, I'm gonna let you guys kind of talk about this. We'll let Mr. Commander go first. So
I was waiting for you to say.
So which
something
quarterback are y'all taking?
Yeah, I mean,
Because that's actually, I have no idea at this point.
oh, Jane Daniels is supposedly the guy. The
Yeah.
Commanders have supposedly said, "Come, no matter what, Jane Daniels is the guy."
I look at Drake May and I just think like, okay, you get a guy that's 2 years younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of his 5 years, right? Because you can pick up a 5th-year option on this guy. At the end of his 5 years, he's going to be what, 20? He's going to be 28. And if we draft Jaden Daniels going to be 31. In quarterback years, that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Right? And by the second contract, you're going to get Drake May at 28 for another 4 years. Like, and there's really not, I mean, other than Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman Trophy, like, I don't really see that big of a difference between these two guys. Like, their stats are very similar. I like Drake May. I like his size better. I mean, his rushing ability might be a little worse than Jaden Daniels, potentially a lot worse. But it's not like Drake May can't get out of the pocket and escape some linebackers.
He just may not be able to like outrun them quite as well as Jaden might be able to.
Yeah, but it's not you don't see a lot of rushing quarterbacks winning Super Bowls, do you? I mean.
And watch as they draft J.J. McCarthy, second round pick.
That would just. I really don't think that this new management is gonna botch draft picks like we have in the past. Adam Peters, he came from the 49ers. They're obviously doing something right, and he was the assistant GM over there, so he was making some pretty big decisions. So now. Just even in free agency, the free agency market that we've kind of scooped up the players that we want and at positions of need.
What team do they used to play for?
Yeah, which team?
What do you mean?
What team did all your free agents come from?
Oh, Frankie Louvu, he came from Panthers. And, what do you mean?
You had one particular team within your own division that most of your free agents came from.
Oh yeah, the Cowboys. But it's not like they're scrapers. I mean, they're not bottom of the barrel guys on the Cowboys. We got their starting center. We had their their starting defensive end.
Lawrence Armstrong,
Dante
Fowler.
Dante Fowler's.
He's kind of a bottom scraper.
But those aren't even the best guys we got out of free agency. I think
definitely not.
This Frankie Louvu guy. I mean, he can play some ball.
Yeah,
and then Jeremy Chin. I mean, golly.
Bionitz is pretty good too at center. I'm a pretty big fan of his. So I was surprised to see that Dallas let him go, but
to be fair, that's just Dallas, so they'll find a way.
They're sitting there looking at CD and Dak, and they're going, "Whoa, boy!"
Dak's not going to have any time to throw.
Yeah. Well, because they lost Tyron Smith and Bionitz, so they got two offensive linemen they got to replace. Speaking of offensive linemen, that's where we have to go, I think, at number 7. Now, I did see a mock draft that kind of scared me, and it did have the Chargers taking Joe Alt at number 5.
I did see that, too. I think at this point it would be irresponsible for the Chargers to not go wide receiver here. I get it, their offensive line is not the best, but you have no one as a within your wide receiver, and you have
Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, you have quite literally
Josh Palmer.
You quite literally have a potential as with Marvin Harrison, who is this, Malik Neighbors, and Romeo Odunze immediately into the draft. I'm sorry, if you are an organization that's serious about coming back and winning and actually building around your young superstar quarterback, who you're probably going to have to trade soon if you don't actually build around him, you've got to get one of those 3. And if you go in and pick an offensive tackle and just say, we're not going to do anything else.
Yeah, which, I hope they do go receiver, because that means that Joe Alt will fall right to number 7.
Oh,
and that'll be right where the Tennessee Titans pick him. It was Fuaga from Oregon State was the next guy that we would have taken, because I think they have Fashanu being picked before us as well. So it was a weird mock draft that had multiple offensive linemen taken in the top 5, which I don't.
Who would have picked him?
I think I can't remember who it was, but
every team that's picking in the top 10 needs offensive linemen. There's a reason that you're picking in the top 10 is because your team's not very good.
No doubt.
The way that you become a very good Super Bowl winning team is by the trenches.
Yep.
And it's no secret. It's really not.
Quarterback in trenches.
Yep. The
and
49ers. Yeah. 49ers, Chiefs. When the Patriots were good, the Cowboys are a different story. I don't really know what's going on with them.
Well, it's now, but they're cursed.
Yeah, it could be.
But if you're
I don't see how any other team picks a tackle outside of potentially the Chargers.
I'm just saying, everybody needs.
Everyone needs it, but it's what do you
but
need more?
Exactly.
But I think Joe Alt, number 7, is probably the safest pick in this draft that anyone could make. Because from what I see, he's a guy that he's going to step in. He's going to be a day 1 starter.
Yeah,
right. For all intents and purposes, the Commanders need offensive tackle, but obviously
they need a quarterback.
We need quarterback more,
especially since you guys traded Sam Howell.
Yeah, right. Unless you go out and keep who was it as your starter, Marcus Mariota?
Oh gosh, yeah.
There's
That'd be so
You need to get a quarterback
That'd
badly.
be so bad. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're getting quarterback.
All right, so that's going to do us for next week. We should be on next week, as far as I know. If not, this could potentially be the finale. Could potentially. Again, we expect to have everybody back next week. Oh,
Yeah.
what about you? What's your schedule?
We fly back Wednesday at like 8 a.m. I think is our flight, and it's a 50-minute flight from PCB to
right.
Nashville. So I should be back.
I will have a
Should.
backup plan for you.
Yeah,
I will have a
just
backup plan for you. Either you or maybe even a Zach Pugh appearance. Who knows?
Zach Pugh saw him the other day. Zach Pugh.
But so we should have a show next week, barring anything crazy happening. So we'll get to talk, especially because that'll be the night before the draft.
Yeah.
So we'll really dive into the draft there. But big shout out to Doc V, David Ellison, Steve Sawyer for helping make the show run. They just got back from Vegas, at least Ellison and Steve Sawyer. So, we're glad that they're back in the building. Shout out to Mr. Computer right there, Trey Whiteout. Big shout out to Reese Britt. Good luck this weekend with the
appreciate
championship.
it.
Go get him, kid.
Yep, appreciate it.
Shout out Isabella Christian and Paige Hearn for directing our shows today. We will hopefully see you guys next week, but this has been Role Players. Peace.